First in the tank is a way to be comfortable and still look professional.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Justin Bear from Bethesda, Maryland, and today I'm seeking $300,000 for 4% of my innovative apparel company, Collars & Co.
4%?
I need you to stop what you're doing right now and give some super claps for super entrepreneur Justin Bear. Woo! Welcome, Justin. How you doing today?
Great, Joe. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time. Glad you reached out and decided to come on for an interview. So let's jump right in. What was your relationship with Shark Tank, but prior to finding out that you would get to, go on Shark Tank or would even apply or be selected?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching it for years. Obviously, being an entrepreneur, it's such a fun show to watch. And when I had this idea for this kind of polo shirt with a collar, everyone always said, God, you should go on Shark Tank. And I'm like, well, it's not too easy to probably get on there. I was thinking like, maybe you have to know somebody. But I didn't. And then one night it was like 11:30, kids were in bed. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go to abc.com. And I remember I typed in really short answers. I told my wife, I was like, I applied for Shark Tank. She's like, how'd it take you? It didn't take you that long. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting on this. I just doing it just to say I did it and give it a try. And then they called.
Wow. Ding, ding for that, because, it takes a lot of guts to commit to doing it. And then it takes even more guts to say, you know what, I'm just going to answer short, brief answers, not go to super long details and figure it all out. And get hung up in the process, right? I want to make sure I answer this question just right. Just go for it. And that is absolutely awesome to see that worked out for you, Justin.
Yeah. I mean, I just, shot from the heart and told them what it was and why I thought it was a cool product and why I should be on it. And I was also thinking about their side. Do they really want to read 10 pages of an application? I think I can say this in less words.
I run into that same problem. What I do when I fill out, because I do whenever I get interviewed or anything like that in text form, it's I'll write out this whole long thing and then go back and start chunking out pieces of it to be okay, this sentence is important. This sentence is important. Okay, all this can just go, because you just got to get the word vomit out, the mind. What's that word? The flow. I can't think of the word.
Get the flow going.
You just gotta, you gotta get it started. You get all those words, the stream, the word stream out of your mind, and then go back and edit it up and mark it up. But no, that is awesome. So, so once you started to get down that rabbit hole of okay, I'm going to be on, this is looking like I might get to go on Shark Tank, right? I mean, just getting the phone call or email, response has got to be heart stopping or did I get fished? Did I apply to the right place? Was I really on the right website at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember being on the call, and obviously everyone's working from home during COVID, and my wife's banging on the door come on, we gotta go, and I'm like, it's Shark Tank, I'm talking I've got a glass door in my office, and I remember that. She's like, okay. It was pretty fun. It was fun getting the call, but as you know, just because you get the call does not mean you're on the show. And then you're obviously going through rounds of interviews, and even then the biggest kick in the pants, obviously, and I'm sure everyone said this, is just because you tape the show doesn't mean they air the show. So they're always kind of, hanging this over your head, as you can imagine. And it just, it starts from, months and months back when, you kind of first get that call.
Yeah. That part is some of the most nerve-wrackingness of it all, especially once you record it, and then you might air, you might not air. You also might not air until the spring. So you go through all these months of waiting and hoping, when am I going to get the call? Am I going to get a call? Am I, where's the line for making sure I'm stocked, making sure my website's, updated and ready to handle that kind of traffic. Though it seems like almost everybody goes through Shopify, and Shopify's yeah, okay. No, this isn't like 10 years ago where it's like, oh no, our site crashed
Yeah.
like 5 minutes into the pitch or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's a lot there, and it's great that your wife was supportive enough to be like, oh, okay, all right, well,
Yeah, exactly.
hit the switch, like
I'll
someone
let you
turn a
go
light
on this
switch.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Believe me, I hear enough on my end about like, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go? Like, yeah, I'm almost there. I was
Yeah.
like, just got to finish this call or just got to finish what I'm doing. So once you went down that rabbit hole, how did you go about balancing preparing for Shark Tank, the gauntlet that you have to go through, paperwork and talking with producers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
combined with preparing a pitch, like what you're going to pitch and the valuation that you want to come into the tank with, along with your family and running the business, the day-to-day operations?
I mean, it's a lot of work. Like, honestly, when I was figuring when to get on the show is, yeah, sure, you'd have this application, you'd probably do an interview, and then they're like, yeah, you're kind of in. There's not much more to do. There is so much paperwork involved. There is a ton of work. I bet you people just get tripped up on that potentially, and just be like, I can't even like do this. The amount of like legal documents and numbers that they want, and they want cash flow statements and bank statements and balance sheets, and not to mention all the other kind of on-camera work and interviews that they want done as well. It's a lot. I mean, it's like it's another like part-time job that I probably didn't have much time to do, but just did it at night.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we're like, how are we going to survive this? And then you look back and you're like, how did I survive that? I'm not really sure how I got through
It was a lot.
all of that. How did you go about coming up with your valuation of $300,000 for 4%? Because like that's not. I mean, it's a round number in the sense that 4 is an even number instead of an odd number, but it's not a 5. Multiple of 5.
Right. Well, I actually was going for more. I was thinking I was going to go in for a larger valuation ask. And then if you remember over the summer, the market's tanking, right? Stock market's crashing, hearing rumors, the Sharks aren't writing maybe potentially big checks, and to really, think through what the valuation was. So I thought I was being a sport and giving them a $7.5 million valuation, given just our sales and the speed at which we got there. And obviously just seeing the show, I could see other companies, we were around just, over a year and we hit 5 million. I felt like, you know what, a 7.5 val is probably a good starting spot. We'll see where it goes. But the other thing is I didn't want to give up that much equity. So I was like, okay, let's start with 4, maybe we end up at 5, maybe 6 if we have to, something like that. But, obviously looking back, on it and being a fan of the show, it's so rare for these Sharks never to do anything less than like 20% or 15%. And I don't know, for some reason I thought I could somehow swing them to less than 10, but that didn't work. But it ended up being great anyway. It was a great deal. It's amazing to obviously, be in Mark Cuban's camp and Peter Jones's camp. It's probably one of the first times, I don't know, I think one of the producers said this, like the 2 billionaires kind of invested in a company. So it's great. It's humbling. We made the right choice in the end. Obviously they make it look a lot more dramatic than it really was in there. As you probably know, it's television and they're cutting an hour and 15 minutes down to 6 minutes or something, but it was good TV and it ended up being a great deal. And the guys have been cool. Mark's been awesome and Peter also.
Have you been able to close your deal yet with them?
Oh yeah, deal's closed.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations. I mean, especially with 2 Sharks, because like I know from other entrepreneurs have told me, like once you have the second Shark, it just gets very complicated in negotiations and the due diligence process, because they want something, the other one wants something, you want something, and it's not just 2 people that need to figure it out. It's 3 people. So that is awesome that you were able to get it closed in relatively quick time.
Yeah, it happened. I mean, everyone was pretty reasonable in the negotiations. as probably previous entrepreneurs have said, devil's in the details, right? So the valuation, that's the easy part. It's all the details of the deal, and how's it going to work, and the controls, and what they're going to be able to sign off on or not sign off on. And once you can get that straightened out, it went pretty smooth. And I did hire an attorney that's kind of in the venture world, so they were pretty familiar. And I don't know, I think that Mark and Peter's attorney probably kind of respected that a little bit. That they had an attorney from kind of a large name firm in DC kind of running this deal, so it worked out.
Well, I'm just guessing that would be a benefit of having a company that has the money to be able to fund a name in the attorney space.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Versus like small town, like, hey, my small town attorney, like he does great, but like not on a stage of that magnitude.
Right. I mean, I think for an extra few thousand to get an attorney that has done this multiple times, and someone maybe that the shark kind of that respects. Obviously, it's their attorneys talking to each other. I think just made it smooth. So I would say for entrepreneurs out there, it's worth the extra money. I know these attorneys are obscenely expensive now, but sometimes they're worth it.
No, I would. Well, the relationships and the when a name precedes itself, it really helps, because then they take it seriously. Everybody's that's at the table takes it seriously, and I think that really, I think you're right. That goes a long way, and just that relationship and trust factor that, like, if you're willing to go in that extra mile to go and make sure you're picking the right guy or girl or lady for the job, right? Sure. And that means you're taking it seriously, and that's what I can expect going forward. That you're not splitting hairs over $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. Which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of money, especially when we're talking about closing a deal. It's rough around $1 million deal. So I think that goes a long way in sending the right message.
I agree. And you know what? There's things that they just, my attorney has done so many times that they knew they just weren't going to get away with it. Some things in the documents that maybe some attorney that a friend of a friend's dad or mom or something is helping you with this deal, maybe they would get pushed by, but somebody they know and that, does deals all the time and are like, this isn't going to fly. And, can kind of scratch it out with them pushing back too much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're going, you prepared your pitch. You're going into the tank, which I have right over here. Walking into the tank. How are you feeling going into the tank with your 4% offer, which, generally doesn't fly very well?
No, but I know it only goes up. If you ask for not enough, it's not gonna go well. But I always say, like, it's a good thing I memorized my pitch, because I don't know what was coming out of my mouth. I mean, it was just, you ever have that? Like words where you're just speaking and your mind is not there, but the words are still coming out. So
yes,
it's a good thing
all the time. Whenever I'm singing a song or a rap or whatever, like it's just coming out. Like I'm not even thinking. It's not even a conscious thought.
Exactly. There's no consciousness at all.
Stream of consciousness is what I was thinking of earlier.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Knew it was going to happen at some point. That is great though. That you were that amped up and I guess just that you were like not like an out of body experience.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember, I was like, gosh, I think I want to rehearse this one more time. How much time do we have? Like 15 minutes or 10 minutes? And they're like, 2 minutes. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, just say it as you're walking back down. I'm like, oh my God, what? So it was pretty nerve-wracking. They're like, okay, yeah, you're ready to go.
Well, that reminds me of two things. One, the Muppets. I don't know if you're a Disney fan, but Muppets 3D. You got a minute and a half. Like, it's a glorious 3-hour finale. You
Right.
got a minute and a half.
Right.
And you literally had a minute and a half before you gotta get together, collect yourself,
Pretty
and
much.
walk out there.
Pretty much.
Um, so so were you prepared for Damon's response to the show to your pitch and to your company?
I wasn't. They. I wasn't prepared. Obviously, being a clothing brand, everyone looks to Daymond like, oh, he does clothing brands, maybe. But I really actually don't see him that often do clothing brands, even though he is like the clothing brand guy. But no, I thought it was a little bit odd that he would say something like that. It's like been around for 1,000 years, and it's going to be around for the next, who knows how long. So I thought it was a little bit odd, and maybe I also found like the Sharks in their, they want to have like that funny moment. They want to get on TV. They're all like fighting for airtime in a way. So they want to have like the shocking line that gets them on. And even though Daymond kind of came out, I think, a little bit harsh early on, by the end, Daymond was already like, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe I'll mentor you." It's almost like he was ready to almost like get back in. Like they didn't obviously like want to show that part of it,
Right,
but
right.
by the end, once they heard all the numbers and we really talked about my background. Anyway, I thought it was, I had like the whole story. Both my parents passed away, my kids, and the show's editors obviously had their own agenda on how they wanted this to come out. But by the end, I think all the Sharks, I think we're kind of excited about it in a way. So I can even see like Daymond even coming back in potentially if we needed to. But I'm glad we ended up with what I think were the two best Sharks at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this plenty. It's like, for anybody that in the super community that's watched, these interviews, I've said it so many times. But the way that they need to work is what's the result, and then they have to work backwards to tell that story, right? So things like somebody wanting to come back in, cool, but if it doesn't ultimately serve the story, like to the end, then you only have 8 to 10 minutes to tell a story. It's not like they have an hour to tell the one pitch that maybe was an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. So it's like, oh, we cut out a little bit and then we go. So you could have that real roller coaster that goes up and down versus like the very formulaic up and then like comes down a little bit and maybe rides a little bit until it's over. So, for them, it's about telling that story in a way that people who might not even be paying attention, because we're all like on our phones in between, like we got our second screen going on. It's just not that good of an idea because the people that are watching aren't necessarily honed in either.
Right. I mean, look, they made it really exciting. It was a lot about the negotiation and like kind of the shark fight and me saying something and then me saying this valuation, and it focused a lot on the valuation. Once they were like, oh, you're doing 5.4 million, they didn't ask too much about the business at that point. It was all about kind of the negotiation back and forth, and it worked. It made for a good episode, an exciting episode too.
And that's what ultimately that's what the TV producers are looking for, right? So they can sell sponsorships and
exactly.
And all that. I mean, well, because so often it doesn't end with or even if you're like, oh, we did sell 5.5 million, right? They'd be like, well, we took out debt for like 1.5 million, and they're like, oh, like I would love to invest, but like, not anywhere close to what you're asking for, because now, I mean, ultimately, the deal closed at 10% for 300,000 plus a line of credit for 700,000, at least on the show. Obviously, the final deal is probably private, and that's fine. But yeah, the money wasn't there necessarily. Well, sort of. In the 300,000 didn't go to like 600,000 or 800,000, but at least each shark got 5%. So you were looking to give up 4% and ultimately they both got 5%, and you got a lot, hopefully at the closing of the deal, you got a line of credit that enables you to continue to grow with it without having to go get extra funding, at least in the immediate future.
Exactly. No, I think at the end of the day, looking back, it was a great deal. Definitely worth giving up. I think on the show, I was like, well, what about 6%? And they're like, get out of here. I was like, all right, and then so basically giving up the extra 4%, it was so worth it. I'm so excited with our deal. I'm pumped with, the Sharks and Mark and Peter. And yeah, it was a crazy experience. And, sometimes that's in every negotiation. Sometimes you got to dig your heels in, and sometimes you got to realize this deal could be like life changing, and it's worth giving up a little bit more than you think you want. So it all worked out.
It absolutely can, especially because, like, no offense, but you didn't invent the look, so you don't have it patented. So, like, at the end of the day, you could go start, Collars and Co. too, and start all over again, and you still have your skills and your experience and everything. So, the experience in the textile market as well. So, like, if it, the goal is for it to work out, but if it doesn't, it's not like you don't have all those experiences and that opportunity to, like, go do it again. Which I think is really important for anybody who's watching who isn't necessarily inventing the product, like, from the ground up, patented, like, this is the thing, right? And there's only, this is the one, and anybody who wants it has to come through me. Because if that's the case, that's a different story, about what you want to give up. But anybody that has a non-proprietary thing, like, you have
Right.
to realize, like, you could do this again too, right? Like, but the amount of exposure that it gives you, the experience it gives you to get to work with one or two or multiple Sharks, and TV and everything that goes with it, I think is far and above outweighs giving up a little bit up front to be able to do that. And who knows, like, just a thought, CNBC airs Shark Tank like nonstop through the weekends,
Right.
and chances are they're gonna, probably air your episode in that that repeat cycle at some point, because who's watching CNBC? People that would wear that kind of shirt,
Exactly.
that style.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, guys that work in offices, and it's interesting. I think it'd be something cool for your listeners too, which is, some of the people that I spoke to before going on the show were business guys. They're like venture capitalists, and they're coming up with their valuations. They're like, no way would you ever value the company at $3 million. Like, you're insane. Like, it should be worth, so I'm hearing these voices in my head as the show's going on. And, it's just something to think about, where they don't really understand that, look, this is a television show. If you can get on there, it can be life-changing. And, so it comes with way more than just the money.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, right? I would equate it to Silicon Valley, like, the difference being, like, raising capital outside of Silicon Valley for a non-tech company, to having a tech company being in Silicon Valley and then being like,
Right.
let's just make it rain in here, as much money as you need, like, it doesn't matter, it's all good, just keep it going, keep it built, keep building. And that's where, like, Shark Tank, the value of it isn't just the money, right? It's not just, I mean, not that you couldn't have a textiles person or somebody in that niche invest in the company and it be worth a lot. But saying you got Mark Cuban, Daymond John, Laura Grenier, like, any of them, adds an enormous amount of value and intrigue to a lot of people that will take your call, versus, like, oh, so-and-so invested in my company. And unless they're, like, a legend in that industry,
Right.
it might not really make much of it. It might not move the needle enough, as much as, say, the money would hopefully do for you.
Exactly. No, totally. And I think that's something to take into account for anyone listening, depending on the investors, right? Is it smart money? Is it not? Can it get you through the door, through certain doors, and help you raise on the next rounds too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, especially if you're in that space where you need, you feel the need to keep raising, or your business is going to thrive more by having those raises versus
Right.
like a one-time investment. Like a smaller business that could be bigger but doesn't necessarily need investment to continue to grow because you don't have inventory constraints or some other factor, resource intensive thing that requires that extra money or that extra people invest in the company,
Right.
for profile or any other kind of benefit like that.
Exactly.
So you get a deal with Mark and Peter, which is awesome. Which I think before the show you were saying, or did you say it during the show? During here, that there was the first time that Mark and Peter. I didn't even realize that Peter was a billionaire. Honestly.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't get, you only get to find out ahead of time a little bit who the Sharks are going to be. So I wasn't so familiar with Peter at all. But
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, no, two billionaires, and they've both been awesome. So I couldn't be happier.
That is, yeah. And I was just sorry. I was just fast forwarding through to get to you, the congratulations here, and there's Daymond congratulating you as well. Even though it's so weird that yeah, I think it's right. It's very weird that he took a stance that like I don't like this style,
So
and
ridiculous.
I'm out. Like I don't know. It's weird to
Yeah.
me that he would feel so strong. I mean, like real. It must really,
It is odd. It's so silly. I mean, I even think I may even have a picture of him wearing. I mean, this is like the uniform for every person. I mean, if you look every television show, every guy is wearing a sweater with a dress shirt underneath it. Every single one. At some point on the show, that the guy's wearing it. But
that would have been a thing to put on the TV, the screen next to you. A screen next to you, like. Hey, here's Mark wearing that same look. There's
I
Daymond wearing
know,
that same look. Here's Lori photoshopped with a picture with that look.
I know. Well, like I was saying, my buddy sent me this video of like all Damon's buddies wearing it, and he's like, "You should post this on TikTok." I'm like, "Nah, I don't think I want to start up with him." But maybe we
Hey,
do.
beef gets eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we do these fun TikTok makeovers where we do like a ambush, and we'll grab a guy on the street and we'll say, okay, put this on. So maybe we'll ambush Daymond, which I think would be great. We like knock on his door and do it. So maybe Mark can get me in touch with him, and we'll do one of these ambushes and get him suited up in collars and co.
I would hope Mark would be there for it. Maybe when he's in the New York area, you could go do it together.
Exactly. That would be funny.
So okay, so you leave Shark Tank with the deal. What's some of the first things you did once you got back from airing on Shark Tank to gear up for both the preparing for to close the deal at some point, and
Right.
to also prepare your business for more traffic?
Yeah, but just like you said, right? They don't give you much time on letting you know. They're going to let you know like 3 weeks ahead. So that's not enough time for lead time for our stuff to be made. But I felt like leaving the show, there were enough like good one-liners in the show that I felt good about airing, right? I told you, like, that's like the biggest fear everybody walking through there has, is that you went through this entire process, and you shoot the show and then you don't air. It's like the worst thing possibly. I'd rather like know ahead of time, just 6 months before, hey, you didn't make it. So, that's another thing going in, is that you want to make sure it's good TV. You don't want to just say, oh, they ask you for, we'll give you 10%, and you say, okay, that won't make the show. You're not getting on, that you just roll over and say. So that combativeness is something that, I'm thinking about. Hey, look, we got to make a good show also, because we want to air it. But yeah, they don't give you much time. I like I was saying, I felt like we were going to air. I've had like a good feeling, and there was a couple of good one-liners, like Mark saying, "I don't care if I do this or not do this. I'm still going to be effing rich." right? I'm like, God, that is such a good line. Everybody cracked up. I'm like, how does the show not show something like that? So I was already starting to build inventories, and we were building inventories for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. So we were somewhat prepared for if they did make the call, and they ended up calling that we were going to be on 2 weeks before Black Friday. So the timing was good. We were kind of ready. We needed more customer support people, right? We knew that obviously the week after airing and then running into Black Friday, we got to be ready to roll. We went from 4 people to like 12 people in the warehouse. Kind of just getting ready for the orders.
Insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
The amount of training and understanding that you gotta have, patience that you gotta have to be able to have that many people all of a sudden doing things and be trained and figure out who's working and who's not working out. That's insane.
I mean, we were all planning on being there. I was there. My kids were there. Everyone was making boxes, fulfilling orders as best we could. But no, it was great. I feel like we were prepared. I was worried. We had a Shopify rep. I called them and I said, look, we're going on this show. Any issues? And obviously they're like, this is nothing. Don't worry about it. The show we spiked probably at 4 times the amount of traffic we normally do for that week. So that was cool. And
in like when the episode aired, like 4 times what a whole week would have in like
I would say we had
or...
Well, yeah, that day we had probably 4 times the amount of traffic, and even the next day, I think there's a lot of people that maybe TiVo, it's not TiVo, but DVR it, or watch it on demand. It doesn't go onto Hulu until that Saturday. So I would say that whole week we were up about 2x what we are normally in sales and about 4x in traffic for that week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I could tell you as somebody who posts the pitches as they literally as it's still airing here on the East Coast. The search traffic is a lot, but nothing's like the East Coast when it first airs, and then it kind of comes off. But then in Saturday morning is when it like kind of swoops back up for the amount of views and search traffic. So yeah, there's definitely something to people not watching it, and the West Coast is not nearly as much of a bump as the East Coast is for Shark Tank, oddly enough. But so yeah, there's definitely something to that. So did you do a watch party or what did you do to celebrate?
We did, yeah. So once we knew the air date, we did a watch party, and we were getting ready. We were trying to think about, how big do we want this to be? And at first it was like, okay, let's just have, 15 or 20 people in my house. I'm like, I don't want to have all those people in my house. Let's just do it somewhere where we can kind of relax, have drinks, and we ended up just renting out a room and inviting a bunch of people, and it was fun. It was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what's the future of Collars & Co. looking like at this point?
So since the show, we're just growing. We're really pushing and hustling. We're coming up with new products. We launched a women's line, which has actually done fairly well from the show. I wanted to actually push that so that women that were going to watch the show could come to the site and have something to buy. But it turns out that's actually been an interesting extension, kind of a non-core category extension. Coming out with a bunch of new patterns. And then what's really exciting is we're going to be doing, so all of our shirts are, right, it looks like I'm wearing a dress shirt, but it's really just a polo.
Oh, let me get out of the way here. Sorry.
It doesn't go all the way down, right? It's just a polo shirt, short sleeves, so super comfortable. But we get guys that are saying, well, what about long? I still want to wear long sleeves. I'm like, well, the idea for the shirt was so that you could wear a sweater and not be like hot and, like pulling your arm down or pulling a sweater over a long sleeve is pain. But they're like, I just want to wear just regular, button down dress shirt. And guys are wearing our polos just as regular polos. So anyway, we made a regular button down dress shirt and we put real cuffs at the bottom. I wish I had one here. We put real cuffs on it. So we think it's going to be killer. So it's basically a performance long sleeve dress shirt that's stretchy and soft, but the collars, I mean, that's the whole difference with our shirts, or the collars are like super stiff. So they really kind of like sit up. You don't get the like kind of flop down that you see on
Like,
most
yeah,
dress shirts.
like mine is a
Oh,
little.
yours
This
is
shirt is
still-
quite old. This
That's
is
still alright.
I think it's I forget who makes this shirt, but yes,
Yeah.
I know
You
what
that
you're
look,
referring to.
especially with the performance dress shirts, they're so like stretchy and soft that the collars don't have the structure, so they're always like flopping down. So we think
You know
the
what?
long
Oh,
sleeve
there's a name for that. One and done.
one and done, yeah.
Pretty much once I wash it, it's over.
Yeah.
Like it's done. It's this shirt, it's over. And it sucks
Right.
because like that's why I try not to buy anything that's isn't non-iron because of for those kinds of reasons. Because those shirts, like especially the ones that are like 100% cotton or whatever, I'm like, who like I'm not gonna iron these shirts. Like that's
Right.
just not gonna happen. I don't dry clean everything I have all of the time. That's not gonna happen either. So yeah, you pretty much it's like a one and done and then just sits in the closet until maybe I get it dry cleaned or my wife's willing to dry clean it or not dry clean iron it cuz like it's just not something I'm going to do.
Exactly. So check out our dress shirts when they come out. They're going to be unlike anything you've ever seen, and the collars will always kind of stay popped.
Oh, that is awesome. Now tell everyone where they can go get that.
Yeah, it's collarsandco.com, COLLARSANDCO.com.
Right there.
There you go.
Your site it scales really well because this is a 4K screen and like sometimes like we were looking at Create a Castle last night. I was talking with them, Kevin and Lori, and it was so stretched like you would just see like the bottom of her chin. You know what I mean? Like because it just I mean, as a web developer myself, I know how much of a pain it is to like get images that like this is what it would look like, but it wouldn't intentionally be this way. Like everything would be like right here.
I know what you mean. Yeah, because the it wouldn't stretch right.
Yeah. So and we see that a lot here on this show at the end of videos where like even on a 1080p screen, it's like it's too stretched. You know, the image is too stretched for what the effect that they're what they're trying to show on there. I was trying to find an image. So it's been a long time since I've worn that style, like the sweater with the dress shirt under it. But I put my son or my wife put my son in one. I was trying to find the image of it because I remember him complaining about his arms getting stuck because of the shirt with the sweater and all that. And I can't seem to find that image, unfortunately. But super cute picture.
We may do a kids version. That's possible that we may roll out a kids because kids hate wearing dress shirts, and this is like a polo shirt and gives them the look of a dress shirt. So we may, for back to school, have a prototype already done.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, he definitely could. He definitely could take advantage of that because I feel like there's it was a dinner or was it this? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't this. Just for the sake of it, here's Dom. But I could have swore. I guess it wasn't this party that we went to that he wore it like that. But anyway, how did you come across my video? Or did somebody recommend it to you?
I've seen your videos before. I've watched other pitches.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that in preparation to be on the show or just like by chance before all that or what?
It's probably both. I probably saw it by chance before that. But you're getting out there.
I'm trying. We're trying. We're growing.
Your channel's
growing. Yeah, I mean, we're just past 12,100 subscribers and we have like 50,000 plus people a month that are returning to the channel to watch, at least 2 videos in a month. So it's growing. And I'm honored to be able to get to teach and to learn and to share. So that's awesome. And so, Justin, I really appreciate you coming on. I'd love to have you come on again, and we'll,
Sure.
talk about the future of Collars and Co. and whatever. Hopefully, you'll have a kids line before my kids grow up. And yeah, so I appreciate you taking the time today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad my daughter's like clicking on the door just as we were talking about it. I took my wife's away. My daughter's like, Dad, come on. I'm like, "What?" Hopefully you didn't like see my hand movements moving. But thanks for having me.
Hey,
I'm glad April didn't
we
come in here
do.
on camera.
You're so welcome, and we do what we got to do, man. That's what being a dad's all about. I mean, there's a window right there, and with a door, and I've had the kids like knocking on the window, and I'm like, "Come in!" Like trying to
Right.
just let them come in without having to stop everything. So
Right.
we do what we got to do, and that's I love the fact that you're so interactive with your kids and doing all those things that you're doing. Which we were supposed to do the interview yesterday, had to reschedule for today. We both have things going on. You got things going on after this, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it was a humbling experience. I'm grateful to show and you for covering it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, hit us up on Instagram or TikTok. Yeah, happy to answer any questions, entrepreneurship, business, how we started, all that
Love it,
anytime.
Justin. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you sticking around to the end. So if you haven't watched Justin's pitch, click on up here. If not, we'll see you in the video down below. Take care and go be super.